Awesome. So welcome everybody, all panelists and all attendees who are joining us here on YouTube today. My name is Karina Fagwani and I'm from Mumbai Girls Football. A quick introduction about what Mumbai Girls Football is. We are essentially an online platform that aspires to create a virtual women's football community across the country. We've been around for about 8 years now, and we've galvanized about 18,000 followers, promoted about 500 women on our platform, and also helped more than 800 women get access to sports in their local neighborhoods by linking clubs who don't have access to talent with players who are seeking opportunities to play. I'm very honored to have all of you on the panel today. So first of all, thank you so much for your time and joining us today. It's an absolute honor. So this webinar, we essentially seek to have a conversation on what have been the developments in the women football ecosystem so far. And together, as we are representing different stakeholders, all the way from national level authorities to training institutions to on-ground implementation partners, how are ways we can all come together to establish a better, more well-functioning women's football community in India. So over to you, Shreya, for a quick round of introduction of all our speakers today.
Thank you, Karina. A warm welcome to all our panelists and giving your time for the webinar. Let's begin with the webinar. I'll quickly introduce all our panelists for today. Our first panelist is Ms. Indu Chaudhary from All India Football Federation. She played cricket at state and All India University level and is a graduate from Delhi University. She worked for Women's National Team for more than 10 years, also working with AIFF as Senior Manager, Women's Football, Hero IWL, Khelo India Girls Football League Under 17. Ma'am, we are pleased and thank you to you're here. Our second panelist is Mr. Henry Menezes, former CEO at WIFA, governing body of football in Maharashtra, and Deputy Chairman at All India Football Federation Technical Committee. One of the prominent personalities of Indian football with a unique combination of player, manager, administrator, having an esteemed prospect of club football with over 25 years of experience is national and international football. Thank you, sir, for being us with today.
Thank you.
Our third panelist is Mr. Dinesh Nair, founder and director of Association of Indian Football Coaches, head of youth and grassroots at Mumbai City FC, also an ex-Indian international player, trustee at Mumbai Football Arena, the Andheri Sports Complex, CEO at Sporting Lands Foundation, a Lions Club initiative. We are pleased to have you, sir, today.
Thank you.
Our fourth panelist is Ms. Shayana Sen from Bangalore. Shayana Sen is from Shining Stars Football Club, which is a skills development initiative of PAS Collective. She has been focusing on the relationship between football design and community building. She has also worked with many children across India at grassroots level. We are thrilled to have you, ma'am, today. Over to you, Karina.
Awesome. Thank you for that quick round of introduction. So that short round of introduction is actually not sufficient to showcase the vast experience that all of our panelists have had. So the first section that we are going to get into is more of a personal experience section where we want to learn more about each of your experiences leading the women's football ecosystem in India. So let's start with you, Ms. Indu Chaudhary. Like, you've had an extremely inspiring journey being a sports person, playing cricket at various levels to now actually implementing women football projects at a national level. What, according to you, have been some of the most notable achievements that the AIFF has made for women's football over the past 5 years?
Hi, Karina. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me for this webinar today. I'm honestly very pleased to meet all of you and Henry sir, Dinesh, Shauna. I have met you all during my working tenure with All India Football Federation. And I think looking back those 5 years, last 5 years, what AIFF have done, the achievements we have, like notable achievements are there for women's football are actually in many senses. it's not like only national team have done good in last few years, but All India Football Federation is also have also done a lot of things, which all of you will see in the coming 5 years. So I'm actually interested in looking forward and the upcoming 5 years, what is there and what results the hard work All India Football Federation have been doing, what results it will give in the coming years. However, all of us are in general, the people are interested in national team's performance. So there also, I think women's football have done quite well, and recently, like qualifying to Olympic qualifiers, winning all the SAF championships, all the South Asian titles. So that is really a good achievement. Although people say that winning at SAF is not that kind of achievement, but I really feel and believe that as a player also, it is not easy to win 5 titles in a row at South Asian level also, because Nepal and our other neighboring countries are actually working very hard. And it is more than winning, it is difficult to maintain that crownship and to retain and to become champion again and again. So I think that is something which we want to continue in the coming years as well. However, in my more than 11 years experience with All India Football Federation, I have matured a lot and I have seen all the ups and downs. I remember in 2009, the FIFA delisted Indian women's ranking. So we were not there in the list anymore. But after that, we participated in South Asian Games. We participated in SAF Championship, and in 2012 we played our exposure tour in Bahrain. Then in 2014 also, then qualifying for Olympic round 2 was something everybody was talking about. So I think all these achievements are there, which have made quite a buzz about women's football. And moving forward, there will be more occasions to celebrate womenhood through women's football. Yeah. So I think these are some great moments. I will absolutely enjoy to discuss, enjoy to talk about.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for that first story that you had to share. And we are also totally looking forward to what the road ahead lies. I mean, the past is the past, but we are so excited to hear that the ambitions are so high for women's football that gives a lot of other women who, are aspiring to create some sort of livelihood or just take up football full time. Might it be playing, might it be coaching, might it be doing community development programs, and it's pretty inspiring to see a lot more women come forward to do the same as well. So thank you for that, Ms. Indu. Moving forward to Mr. Dinesh
Karina, sorry
Nair.
to interrupt. Karina, sorry to interrupt. Shaina is waiting outside. Can you please let her in?
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Dinesh Nair, so like it's pretty inspiring to hear your story as well. Like you started off really young, playing for all possible levels, even representing India at the national, state, at the international level. So that's absolutely inspiring. And now you move on to actually establish AIFC. So all of us really want to know more about what inspired you to start AIFC in the first place, and what is the vision for AIFC specifically in terms of women's football in India?
Thank you, Karina, and thank you, Shreya, for being kind with your words. Thank you so much. It's in fact, it's inspiring to see stakeholders like you coming up and putting up some platform where you can discuss and spread the importance of sport and about development. So the whole, where it all started in terms of the Association of Indian Football Coaches is India produces the best doctors, the best scientists, IT professionals, CEOs, you name it, Indians are the best. So why not, the best players in the world? So when you go back and on the drawing board and thank you, where do we lack? I mean, yes, there are multiple pillars, whether be it education, infrastructure, leagues. So, but what is that we can change? In education in India, we have a system, right? You go to pre-primary, you go to primary, you go to your secondary, you go to do your masters, your MBA, and so on and so on. But sports education, football education in India is still at the growing stages. AFF is doing an amazing job. I mean, we have Savio Madeira who's spearheading the entire coach education program. So we have our licenses, your AFF E license course, a D license, C, B, A, Pro, and so on. Then you have your goalkeeping vertical, you have your conditioning, and so on. But there was something more to that. Now these are the coaching licenses. But how do you keep your coaches updated, upgrade them? So CPDs, your workshops, your seminars, and also the coaches' welfare. I mean, we believe in Indian coaches. We are the best. It's only that we need exposure. We need keep updation, and that's where AIFC was formed to help Indian coaches to upgrade, not only in terms of technical, tactical, physical, and mental, but about communicating to the management, about the latest tech that is available. So that's where the entire AIFC, the formation of AIFC happened. In our first conference that we had in 2018, I mean, coming back to why we did it and how serious are we about women's football. Our first conference, that was the Indian Football Coaches Convention at the D.Y. Patil University. We are very serious about women's football from the start. And for the conference, we had Ono Makoto, who's the JFA, Japan Football Association, one of the top teams in the world, Japan's women's football team. And he heads the youth system and the women's system for Japan. He came and presented on the entire structure of Japan football, how many coaches that you have. Now, if you see the gap in the number of coaches that we have, Japan is close to more than 80,000 coaches, and we are still at around 2,000 to 3,000. So that's the gap that is there, which the AFF is going out and getting more coaches on board. But the AIFC was formed to do other than coach education when it comes to upgrading the coaches. What we did is after we formed, we did the first coaches convention, and with Indu and with the AFF, we did a workshop on women's football. This was at the AFF house with Ray Dover, who's the FFA under-17 women's national team coach, and Emma Checker, the captain of a W League club. So it's all about upgrading coaches, giving them knowledge sharing best practices from other associations across the globe. We also have an MOU now signed with the Football Coaches Australia on the similar lines of sharing best practices and knowledge. During the pandemic, what we did is, starting the end of March, we got the entire coaching community together. So as an organization, what we did is we got the coaching community together. We divided India into zones, and we created 18 online classrooms, and we conducted free online webinars. We reached out to more than 4,000 coaches. There were a lot of girls, a lot of women football coaches who came in, and that went on pretty well. After the 8 modules across these, and why we created these 18 classrooms is this was also language specific. So, we had a Malayalam workshop in Kerala, Tamil in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka, Northeast. So we had around 40 coach educators and about 100 guest speakers who came and shared their knowledge. So it was brilliant, because you had likes of Bibiano and Alex Ambrose and all the national team coaches, Mamol Rocky, everyone speaking to grassroots coaches, e-licensed coaches. Some coaches are PE teachers; they are not even licensed. So we got everyone to a single platform. Going ahead, what we did is we also did an AIFC webinar on women's football development, where we had a panel and something like this, but we had a panel of women achievers. We had Mamol, we had Anju Turambekar, we had Roma Khanna, who's the current tournament director of the LOC of the Under-17 World Cup. Anjali Shah, who's the executive member with All India Football Federation, Durva Vahia, who's with Reliance, Alex Ambrose, Nicole Menezes, who's into sports psychology and doing an amazing job now, and Jess Weeks, who came from Premier League. So we did a webinar specific to women's football development, how we can develop women's football, what are the shortcomings, how we can bridge the gap. Now we are coming with another webinar, which we've not announced. I think the first time I'm coming out and speaking publicly about it. It's called the Women Who Dared. So we've taken, I can't name the coaches right now. We've taken a couple of coaches. You can guess top A licensed coaches. We call them together and we'll be doing 2 panel discussions on. Usually what happens is in a typical course, a licensed course, there are 24 seats, right? 24 candidates. Out of 24 candidates, mostly there are 23 men, boys, 1 woman, girl, or maybe 2 women. So, so these women who did their D license, C license, B license, A license, we want to get them and say that, how did you all do it? So it's called Women Who Dared. So that's something we have coming up with. So the entire, coming back to why AIFC was formed is for all this. So A is help the coaching community, and not only coaches, we're looking at coaches, assistant coaches, support staff, analysts, all together. So try and help them, upgrade them with knowledge in different segment. Also, what we've done is, so when we started doing these webinars, few coaches came back to us and said, they were really struggling to make both ends meet, and a lot of coaches didn't want to, because being a player, being a coach, being a sportsman, we don't like to ask for help. It's a fact. So nothing wrong in that. But then we had our state development officers, our zonal heads. We had a couple of meetings on should we go and help the coaches who are in real need. I mean, help them with some basic essentials. Initially, we thought, there are so many migrant laborers who are struggling. I mean, we going out now and putting appealing to help for coaches won't be right, because there are migrant laborers who are struggling. But then we had, rounds of meeting. We came to a conclusion that if we don't speak for our community, who's going to do it? Yeah, there are migrant laborers. There are different segments, but we need to speak about our community. So we came out and we launched the AIFC CCSP. That's AI, Association of Indian Football Coaches, COVID-19 Coach Stimulus Program, where we had the Sporting Lions Foundation and Give India Foundation. We launched the program, and the Lions Club pledged to support 100 coaches. And that is when Sri Aditya Thackeray, who's the Vice President of the Western India Football Association and President of the Mumbai District Football Association, now he's the Tourism Minister and Protocol Tourism Environment, he came ahead and pledged to support 1,000 coaches for 3 months. So that, in fact, currently that program is on, where we are reaching out. So it's not only the management doing it. So we call us #VRAIFC. So every coach is a part of AIFC. So we have top coaches in India who are our state leads in each and every state in India. Then we have divided India into 6 zones: north, south, east, west, northeast, and central. And all of them together identified not only coaches. So we've identified coaches, referees, ex-players, groundsmen, anyone who's in need. And we're happy to say that there are a lot of women coaches and women stakeholders whom we have helped. We don't want to name them. And we have not, yes, someone who's okay with it. We have, photographs are there, but we have strictly, our team, we put up protocols in place that no giving photographs unless they are okay with it. So we are currently helping 1,000 families. So about around 4,000 to 5,000 people for 3 months. So A is upgrading our coaches, where we know we are the best, Indians are the best, we want to take them there. And second is welfare of coaches in India. So that's what AIFC is all about. And we call it, as again, to just reinforce #VRAIFC. We all are AIFC.
Wow, that was fantastic. So I think the most inspiring bit out of all of this is how you've managed to create like a community nationally. Like, I really like the fact how you've split it zone-wise, though they are all in silos. It's all still one community under AIFC, which is absolutely fantastic. And I'm glad you brought out the point finally about how many women are you supporting through the COVID relief program as well? So that's also very inspiring to hear. I was going to ask you a percentage, but you did mention.
So there are many men. In fact, you will hear soon that even in our core team, we already have a lot of women in our core team and who are driving the entire program. In fact, whatever you see on our social media is also driven by Shiju Matthew. So we in our core, women are very strong, and all the other coaches who are there, whether it are state leads or whether it are zonal leads, all are coaches who are pro license and A license. I mean, we've got Sanjay Sen, Derek Pereira, we have Thangboy Singto, we have I.M. Vijayan, we have Naushad Musa, we have Shakti Chavan. I mean, I can't name everyone, but all the coaches, each and every member and who are going on ground and helping these coaches. So we are a community.
Sounds fantastic. I'm going to come back to you on that one in the next segment for sure. I would like to learn more about this. Thank you for sharing that. So now moving on to Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry, wow, I can't even start to explain what a legacy you've left behind with establishing and leading projects at the Western India Football Association. So I want to know what were some of your key learnings from your experience at WIFA, specifically in developing women's football in the Western Zone?
First of all, the key learning is that you need a professional to really manage the association. That's one of the biggest tagline that I can use that, because if you have professionals, you develop faster, and that's how it goes about. So interestingly, if you look at my life, is that I was a high jumper as an athlete, and who turned out to come out second and left high jump and came out into football. And nobody used to put me up into the game. I used to try to play forward because that was the only attentive or attention-seeking position in football, But I failed over there. Came back as a midfielder and then defender, and then straight behind the goal. So I got a chance to stand in the goal in one of the absenteeism of some goalkeepers in the local level at my place where I used to play in the suburbs of Mumbai. And my attributes of high jump totally matched my goalkeeping, and that's how I became a goalkeeper. So I'm an accidental goalkeeper, footballer who went out to play for the country, and now I've got the highest state award. And interestingly, bringing in the experience of a footballer, knowing the hardships, it was always my dream that I should sit on a chair and try to correct systems. And that's exactly what I got to do, because way back in 1986, I'm talking about 1986, and I took charge of WFA in 2011-12. In 1986, we were always told that we were going to make a football stadium at Cooperage. And I was a lucky man to make football stadium in Cooperage in 2013-14. So that's the beauty of really taking up the challenge over there. And key learnings are that if you're in a state that is as massive as 35 districts with 112 crore people, 120 million people in your state, it's not very easy to really monitor or take care of things. There's always going to be problems here and there. But what I did was that I had traveled to 21 districts other than the key districts of Maharashtra to find out why football doesn't work. And the main thing that I came to know there was when I analyzed that Maharashtra had 65 coaches only that time. And the 65 coaches for 120 million people was something impossible task to grow in football. And initially, my aim was to start a coaching license. And coaching license, I was very happy to be with Gabriel Joseph, that time director of coaches, and he helped me to really make out. And I was lucky because the president, Mr. Praful Patel, and that time the conceptualization of ISL was happening. So Mr. Ambani was there, Mr. Kushal Das was there, and the entire executive committee, along with the IMG International, were there when I said that if you don't have coaches, how are you going to improve football? And that's the time that I was told that, Mr. Kushal, why don't you help Henry to do this coaching license? And Kushal said, I got no money. So funding was always a problem in Indian football, and still it is. Though we have now a good amount of national sponsors or people to take football forward. But still, funding is one of the biggest reason why we are back, in moving forward. But yeah, I think the D license was initiated and done from WIFA. That was the first time that we did, and we did pretty well in the last decade to really make around 5,000 coaches of D license as well as grassroots leaders. So it's a big thing, because if you don't have coaches, you don't have players, and if you have players and you have no coaches, they are like a ship without a sail. So interestingly, my job was that to find out why football was not growing. And coming back to women's football, is that in 2011-12 we had only 8 to 9 districts who was to participate in the inter-district competition. And over a period of time, we went on to promote football at the district level, trying to make out that how many schools are participating, encouraging school children to get onto the floor, get onto the ground. There were many cases where, it is a very conservative rural areas when you go deep into the state, and there you find out the actual reasons that they cannot wear short pants. And that was the major reason that the girls didn't want to come out, because there were the other reasons were the religion. There are many Muslim girls also who are now educated, want to play football, but just couldn't find place because they used to wear the hijab, or they cannot wear shorts. So we transformed the entire thing to say you can wear a salwar kameez, you can wear a track pant, you can wear anything that you want. Just see that you use shoes for safety, and we bought them out. And you won't believe, Karina, is that we went on to get 28 districts participate out of 35 districts. And that's always a point that we always were very much surprised as to why this did not happen before. Because we showed them an opportunity. We showed them an opportunity that if you can play for your district, you might get selected for the state. And if you play for the state, you might select for the national team. So showing a pathway becomes a very important and integrate part for an administrator or the administration of an association or district association or the All India Football Federation. Because today's parents, they are very keen to bring their kids into sports, and especially young parents. They want their kids to come out and play. But when they go to the ball, they are in a question mark as what is he or she going to do in life with football? Because children today are crazy about football, whether we call it international football or European football or EPL football, but they're crazy about football. And I'm sure that today, if I look forward from today, football is no more a boys' game. I think now the girls have entered inside, they've taken their position. And I almost, when you talk about football, you always talk about Cristiano Ronaldo or a Messi or Suarez, or you talk about Kane, who was sensational in the last World Cup. But if you look at the recent World Cup, it is fantastic to understand. You saw Megan, you saw Marta. These are the prominent figures that really come out to understand that there are icons in women. Because if you want the game to go up, we want a marketing possibility, and marketing possibility happens with icons. And that's exactly what we see in Indian football today. Bala Devi has made us proud. Bem Devi, we have made us proud. There are so many of them who have moved outside. I'm not talking only players moving out of the country in this period, but I think from the start, from 1975, when the Women's Football Association had started, much more than they had come under AIFF, there were 2 or 3 girls also played outside India. And that was a very, very promising thing to get inspired for. We want children to get inspired, and we want icons to come up. And this Under-17 World Cup is going to be a fantastic thing. So for me, the learning is that you have to bring in professionalism. You have to understand equity. That is, males and females are equal nowadays. And I think most of the sports have started taking to equity. I think Wimbledon is one of the biggest example of parity in prize money. And I think slowly and steadily, women football have started claiming their positions to be prominent figures in the game of sport. And football also is one of the sport that local players and beginners are coming in. So I always feel that opportunities is something that will bring out mass participation, and icons will start inspiring girls or boys to get into the game, and a proper administration needs to be in place so that you grow this to the next level.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you for that, Mr. Henry. And I mean, that's a great way to even move on to Shayona. I'll just get into that in a quick minute. But a couple of takeaways from what you just said, Mr. Henry, like women today, like if opportunity is provided and if there is knowledge of that opportunity available,
Absolutely.
I think that could make like a vast difference throughout. And that's when, collaboration comes into place. Like though there might be national level programs that are running, but if they don't trickle down to the most grassroots, to the smallest of organizations, if the smallest of organizations don't have an aim, a national level holistic aim to chase after, we won't really get places. So that's when folks like Shayona come in, who have established
Before you go down, I just want to say one small thing is that what is going to be inspiring in the near future is the education for girls. The more the girl is getting educated, the more they move forward, and the more they have the inspiration to get into their goals that they always write off. So yep, I think that sums me up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Henry. And yeah, education is a great component. Like Shayona is currently working to develop a holistic model for child development in Bangalore, which is absolutely so inspiring. I mean, she started a couple of years ago, and now it's sort of turned out into a movement of so many children participating with her. So over to you, Shayona. My quick question to you would be, how has your experience been with setting up Shining Star FC? And what is the main mission and the impact that your organization aspires to create?
Hey, hi. Am I audible?
Yep.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, I apologize because earlier I was having some technical challenges. I think we're good to go. And I mainly wanted to add, to a few points that have already been mentioned. I think before we are starting the call itself, Dinesh mentioned that the core to forming our community is thinking about humanity, and furthermore that if this is kept in mind, then we're not going to see, say, this gender lens that keeps coming up. And unfortunately, I think during the pandemic, we've seen in many ways, and not just through gender, but even socioeconomic status, that we're kind of back to talking about equity as to say equality. And when we think about professionalism and leadership, if leadership can keep in mind just skills and skills speaking, that will bring us a long way, regardless of gender. So there's already so many points that have been brought up, and I'll use education, kind of as a segue. And in Shining Stars Football Club, we are young. We function very quietly. We've grown organically. We're just 115 boys and girls. We start at the age of 7, and we work with children and youth. Right now, our eldest is 20 years old. And the children in Shining Stars FC, at least 40%, I've known them personally for about 7 years. So there's this relationship that we've kind of created, that really evokes trust. So that's kind of core, because in Shining Stars Football Club, we do look at football excellence. And oftentimes right now, more not-for-profits are seen as, say, quote unquote, an NGO. In Shining Stars FC, we're very much inspired by, say, a traditional club setup, and where a lot of legends, football legends have come from just community football. And all of our children live about 5 to 10 minutes walking distance from the ground. We're in 2 communities in Bangalore, which are low-income communities. And yeah, I think we encourage SSLC Pass, and that's very important for children to pay attention to education in parallel. That also, wins parents' trust, especially in houses where there are first-generation learners. A parent's dream, who may not have studied even past 7th, just wants their child to pass 10th. So we work on football excellence. We talk about teamwork off the pitch, and that's where critical thinking, skills, dialogue come into play, and we work on design-driven projects. And furthermore, what we're seeing is through 10th, when a child develops a certain level of football skill, that becomes a tool for accessing quality education, which wasn't an option or a choice before, say an opportunity before, and that too through sports scholarships and accessing 11-side football and in great colleges that have good football teams. So we have 12 youth in Shining Stars FC right now that have gotten into great colleges, through sports scholarships. And so, I mean, this is just a bit about us, but I think we can get into this more. Shining Stars FC is part of a larger initiative called Past Collective, and Shining Stars FC is self-sustained. So the way that we've kind of set up our work is that we're not dependent on external money in our early days, because oftentimes what does happen in, say, development is a funder might come in, and the funder dictates what happens on the ground. And right now, we've consciously decided in our early years that we look at revenue generation through our design studio, where we work with really fun partners in sport, in education, development. We provide services like design research, branding, visual communication, systems design, right? And the revenue we generate there is what internally sustains Shining Stars Football Club. And we're looking at Past Collective as this platform of skills sharing and skills development alike. Oftentimes there are youth who may come from marginalized situations, who may not have equal opportunity, as Henry just pointed out. And when that opportunity is provided, especially in an environment where, say, a youth is empathetic, they like sports, they like dialogue, they're people friendly, then this kind of completes that cycle of skills development and skills application. So that's what we're doing in Shining Stars Football Club.
Wow, thanks a lot for sharing that, Shavana. And I mean, you brought out a great point about how you guys are self-sustaining. There are so many of these grassroots level organizations that struggle, they start and they give up because of lack of funding. But I mean, you have set up a great social enterprise model, as I would like to call it, where you have another product or another service that is generating income, and you're using a portion of that income to fund these activities, which is absolutely fantastic. And I hope that we could possibly, collaborate with Shining Star FC to possibly create a curriculum of what you guys are already doing. So it could be a curriculum that we could share with clubs across the country, so that clubs have a standardized means of a holistic development model that kids across the country could possibly learn from. I'm hoping that could be a possibility.
Yeah, and I think with everyone here, firstly, I think one thing that we highly encourage, even within the children and working on specific projects within our staff, within our partners network, is collaboration. And collaboration is intentional, right? The only way collaboration happens is through intentionality and purpose. So one conversation that came up with a coach just a few days back was, can we just share screens and share how we set up our session planning? How we set up our topics, how we identify what we're looking at, the combination, the relation of training to match play, to competition and so forth. So yeah, I mean, and at a systems level, when we look at professionalism, as Henry pointed out, when we work professionally and with systems, the work goes faster. And the work can also be a little more fun, and if we work in systems, then we maybe have objectives and goals in mind. So it's neat that you do bring up curriculum, because the curriculum in itself does represent a system. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. And even for Mr. Nair, I mean, if we could sort of, like, you are working to build a community of coaches across India. So if we could have like standardized curriculums that could be shared with all of these coaches, that would be brilliant to set a standard of football, not only for women, but also like boys and girls. So that would be fantastic as well. So that concludes the first section. So moving on to my colleague, Shreya. Over to you, Shreya, for the next section.
Thank you, Karina. It was such a great to listen to each and everyone talking about their personal experiences. And I was amazed to see like everyone talking their own perspective. It was such a great thing to learn from you all. So now moving on to our next section, where we want to understand from our panelists how effective collaboration, talent management, and skilling can help to make women's football community become stronger in India. So let's start with Miss Indu. As we all know that AIFF
Yes, Shreya.
yeah.
Yes, sure. Please carry on.
Okay, okay. As we all know that AIFF is the highest organization of football in India, and AIFF was established to be the guiding light of football organizations and associations in country. So, ma'am, what are your thoughts on how AIFF could play an important role to motivate district football association to increase their performances, and what are the currently measures undertaken to achieve for the same? Over to you, ma'am.
I missed the last part of your question. Hello.
Yeah. You can
Yeah,
hear me? I will.
I
I
missed.
Yeah. Okay. I'll start from the starting. So AIFF is the highest organization of football in India, and AIFF was established to be the
Right.
guiding light of football organization and association in country. So, ma'am, what are your thoughts on how AIFF could play an important role to motivate district football associations to increase their performances, and what are the currently measures undertaken to achieve for the same?
Yeah. Thank you, Shreya. So I think the question should be for districts and from AIFF side, because I'm a firm believer that as a leader you cannot ask somebody to do things until unless you set an example. I'll give you a very recent example. Just today, I had a workshop with one of the state who like barely participating in women's competitions. So I had about more than 50, actually more than 50 participants were there, and when I basically briefed them about what we are doing, what are our plans for women's football, youth girls, and Hero India Women's League. So the response from them was so positive. They were actually thrilled. They wanted to participate. That if they are allowed to play in IWL if tomorrow, so they would love to come out and participate in that. And their questions were also very interesting, very I would say very apt, related to the participation, related to the issues which district associations, state associations face on daily basis. So the thing is, without districts, the states cannot do much. So it is actually, we are heavily dependent on the local bodies to do their part, to perform well enough to make a successful national organization or a national team. So I thoroughly believe that if we have a good domestic culture, we will definitely be having a great team at international level. So districts certainly plays a major role in this. And AIFF, what we have started very recently is we are having workshops with all those states, including those districts, including all the stakeholders. From For women, for example, we have all the stakeholders who are investing either financially or emotionally or personally. They are investing in either way in women's football. So we want them to have a one-on-one chat with us. We want them to participate, and if they have any suggestions or any ideas which can help us in bringing more women football in this in footballing world, that will be great. So like after today's workshop, I was very thrilled. I'm looking forward to organize more workshops with other states who wants to do things but they are unable to do it. So we want to play a role of a problem solving federation. So if you, tomorrow somebody is stuck somewhere, somebody wants our expertise, somebody wants our technical support, so we will be more than happy, because our aim, our motto is very simple, that we want the participation, we want everybody to come and participate. As far as the support matters, we will give our support wherever we can offer. And I think so related to districts and states, yes, we need more participation, we need their support. AIFF need their support, and more than state and district need their support. AIFF needs district associations and state associations support. I think Henry sir, Dinesh would agree on this part, because until unless we have a strong domestic culture, we are not going to make a very good footballing nation. So since Hero IWL has started, I have personally received so many requests from the clubs. So many clubs are interested, but somewhere they have issues that, you know, they don't have proper coaches, they don't have proper players. Their players are playing for some other clubs for neighboring states and all. So, you know, all these issues will be there, but we need to sort out these issues. We have to we have to, you know, focus on more and more that how we can develop all together, we can develop women's football. So yes, district associations will be a key stakeholder in overall progress of for women's or football development.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. And a key points to note down for the local bodies, like to work together. So yeah, moving on to Miss Shavina. Real impact comes from the organization working tirelessly on ground. From your experience with running Shining Stars Football Club, where do you feel higher level organizations can support to multiply the impact of NGOs and clubs?
Okay. Well, great question. Open-ended, I'd say. I think so. So a few things. I want to, you know, paint a picture. So you know, just in March, right before COVID, you know, joined us in our lifestyles, we had a massive ground challenge, and you know, we're a community club. Because of religion and gender, because they didn't want girls.
I think we lost her.
Yeah.
Yes, can't hear her.
Issue. Okay, maybe we can move on to the next question, Shreya.
Okay, fine, Karina.
And then we can come back to Shayana
Okay,
post.
okay.
Apologies for this, everybody.
Over to Mr. Henry, sir. Yeah. Talent management plays an important role in building a successful sports ecosystem. How can we ensure the current scouting talent management process becomes more inclusive to girls coming from various backgrounds and geographies to get a lot more opportunities for them?
I think Shana's
Hey,
come back, so I
there we
think
go. Yes.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
here?
Whew.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. So this is where we're at. You know, we're still talking about you know, many situations of, you know, child marriage has come up in the past months, and what I want to say is that at a grassroots level, what really helps is you know, when a girl has ambition, and a lot of that has to do with benchmarks. So when, for example, a girl does see Bala Devi, or you know, an Amulya from Bangalore, you know, a local woman at that who has a baby, who's still playing in this you know, super division women's league, who's played in IWL, that makes a big difference, and that's that top-down influence. So we've felt the trickle down effect, because typically we work very bottom up, we're very grassroots. We felt the All India Football Federation you know, systems kind of, you know, shake our world a bit in a great way, because the state level criteria of women's leagues to be created and completed based on certain criteria for that team within the state to move up to IWL, it's created a lot of churn and talk in Bangalore. And I think I've been in Bangalore for 8+ years, and we never really had access to the KSFA, to All India Football Federation, until the past few years. So what I would say, and I've just made a list that, you know, might connect to the stakeholders here in our conversation, is this. So as girls football becomes more popular, I think it's our job, you know, as decision makers and leaders coming from diverse backgrounds, to really focus on safety and protection. So if we can, you know, really push conversations on protection of a girl child, sensitization on working with girls. I think that would be very helpful with coaches and even management. We also, I think all of us believe that, a girl or a girl child, definitely from a young age, when they have a good team and a good coach and have certain, childhood achievements, this can really go a long way. And with that said, coaches play a big role in role modeling, knowledge transfer, and in a grassroots lens. And I'll speak through a community-based program that we really yearn for coaches to stay with us full time and to stay with us, for a longer period of time. So what could be kind of interesting is, different coaches have, different goals, as we all know. And we're seeing this culture of coaches freelancing and, working in, 2 clubs, 3 clubs, and, really focused on, maybe a payment per session, and which comes naturally, I think, in this stage of football. But what would be really nice is if there's a database, and if there's a database that, in a very child-centered manner, keeping in mind the child's development, seeing, this, I can click on this filter, this tag, these coaches are very interested, in community-based coaching, in a long-term coaching. They're looking for, like deep engagement across 12 months, across 24 months. And that would really help us in our filtering and our coaches selections process, because we believe the HR part of our work is essential, in children growing. So that's there. And 2 systems from a top-down level that we really have been talking a lot more about within Shining Stars Football Club is, number 1, the grassroots leaders license, because the grassroots leaders course, which is now the E license, really does celebrate fun. And when a coach understands that, how do you create, a session as an event? How do you create fun, and that be recreational in nature, but that keeps a child in sport? And when a child can stay in sport, that's what we dream of. And furthermore, it can go from a recreational mindset to, say, maybe a competitive mindset, but the fun comes first. And number 2 is baby leagues, because baby leagues evokes a sense of community naturally, given the length, say, of a league. For, say, minimum 8 teams to come together, there's going to be a lot of learning between the teams that are competing in one league. And I grew up playing in the U.S. Youth Association, Youth Soccer Association, and I started playing football at the age of 3 and in a system by the age of 5. So what used to happen there, and my father, he was my first coach. He's a local, Bengali boy from South Cal, and it was just volunteers. There was a lot of parents, and a lot of enthusiastic parents, youth that would come volunteer and coach. And what could be nice is maybe the All India Football Federation has a little rewards incentivization where coaches see their presence as service as well. Yes, coaches need to make money. It's a livelihood, and we need to do a much better job in terms of remuneration. But if you can look at coaching as a service as well, that could enhance, the culture of football at a grassroots level. And what I'm saying is more at a volunteer basis. The word volunteer comes with some weight, so that's why I'm using service. But I think, if AFF can just give a certificate, hey, excellent job, you've done this, you've stayed with this group for 1 to 2 months, and you've contributed to the success of this baby league, then that too is great. And I think mainly we saw the state level system work really well, where leagues were created across states. Criteria was great. There was there's certain rules and regulations that brought a seriousness and professionalism in terms of what match commissioners are reporting. Stakes are kind of high, and I think if you can bring that same type of system to, say, U14 girls level, or a U16, this would also, create some bottom up movement, because in order for us to create a funnel, for Shining Stars FC girls to be part of, any girl to be part of, it needs to be accessible. So it's been successful, I think, at more of a competitive level. If you can bring that down a bit, I think that would be great. And the KSFA is doing a good job, I think, in that. And I'm also speaking with bias because I've been in Bangalore for 8 years. So I've seen certain movement in the last 2 years. But I'd say this at large.
Thank you, Shayana. It was just fantastic to hear from you.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry, I just don't mind. I just take 1 second. So, in Shining Stars FC, what we also believe is in self-interest. And Indu mentioned a conversation she was having with a very passionate club just recently, and the mention of girls going to other clubs. We're going to, as competition grows and as the benchmark goes up, we're going to see this. Like, we feel the heat as a community club. Like, we feel the heat, and it's good heat because we take ourselves more seriously as well. But I think self-interest plays a big role in a child learning. And if a child on their own chooses to be present at a practice session, at a match, and there's a mutual respect, then that really goes a long way. And we all have our own, jobs to make sure an experience of, learning football is also, fun and just, something that a child wants to go back to. So there could be ways that maybe, the state FA or AFF can look into these more basic systems, but important systems. Yeah.
Sounds fantastic. I think, that was absolutely spectacular. And it's so great to hear all your personal experiences at such an in-depth level. I guess we only have 10 minutes left. So Shreya, over to you for the final 2 questions to Henry and Mr. Nair.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Karina. Over to Henry, sir. Talent management plays an important role in building a successful sports ecosystem. How can we ensure the current scouting process and the talent management process becomes more inclusive to girls coming from different backgrounds and geography to get a lot of more opportunities?
Yeah, like first of all, I would like to really mention over here is that the under-17 men's World Cup really changed the entire dynamics of football in India for youth football. And because what happened was, from the school to club level, there was a huge gap. And that gap was bridged by the under 13, 15, and 18, under 18 tournaments in the I League. So there was a huge amount of aspiration, to play in those leagues and wanting to be a part of a club that is qualifying for those things. And it gave rise to more than 500 clubs around the country, or more. And I think there are a huge amount of interest from clubs to participate at the youth level. And this was a catalyst of under 17 men's World Cup. So now what's happened is the under 17 women's World Cup has come in, and this is something that will empower each and every girl. What's important is to take this news to the girls, to take this news to the districts, to the state levels, and to the stakeholders. I think what is important to understand in India is that we have 2 verticals for administration. One is from the federation side, and one is from the government side, the ministry side. And I think both of them are capable of doing wonders, because football associations or federations are only dealing with clubs, not with schools or things like that, because there is a district sports officer or district sports department in the district or in the state or in the country. So I think they deal with a lot of youth children, especially school going children. They have a lot of, but the point over here is that you, when you compare yourself to getting into a competition, wanting to earn the experience, our children hardly play any matches. That is 5 to 6 matches. If you are in a school tournament or something of that sort, if you lose in the first round, and if it's a league table of four teams, then you're lucky to play 3-4 matches. If you go to the semifinals and finals, you've got 6 matches, and after that, there is nothing around you. So what is important over here is that the AIF suddenly will start their legacy program along with FIFA after this World Cup gets initiated. There's a jinx to this because there's already a postponement to February to March, and we are expecting another postponement in the near future if the pandemic does not move away. But saying aside that, there's a huge amount of development happening back scene, and I think AIFF, the FIFA, the stakeholders, the government, everybody are getting involved into that, and to leave a legacy. And legacy is not about just doing a work for maybe 6 months or 1 year. It's a 5-year legacy program that will exactly get you into a place where you want to be, and they will empower girls. And mostly they're onto these four big verticals, or we say pillars, like, it's a football development, then there's sustainable development, there's football for all and community engagement, and there are tournaments and build up. So on this basis, you're going to have a huge amount of stakeholders. Today, we are talking about 35 districts, and FIFA has already come up with stating that the legacy plan will move forward through the district associations, along with the district sports department, and everybody will collaborate together to really splash this so that they bring in more participation in engaging the entire community. And from there onwards, you will be having the under 13s, under 15, and under 17 girls team that start with the district level and go on to the state level and then go to the national level. So yeah, there is a fantastic strategy of or a pathway that is already created by FIFA, AIFF, and the stakeholders to be implemented in this. And we see that in Maharashtra. I will talk about Maharashtra. Is that we always thought that the Mumbai girls are the best. The Mumbai girls are the best. After that would come Navi Mumbai, and then would come maybe Nagpur or something of that sort. But over the period of time, we have seen how Kolhapur has risen as girls football. They became champions of the state of Maharashtra last time when it moved into the IWL, and they really created a professional level administration so that they could buy players from outside. They could really generate players from within. Local players were there. There was a mix of everything, and that's the reason why they moved upwards. And they beat teams from Mumbai, and Navi Mumbai were very strong. You look at another district in Maharashtra is Buldana. Buldana, I think, is a remote conservative area, but you have some fantastic girls from there playing football, and they're playing in Mumbai. And most of them get jobs in the police, or they get the jobs in the banks, or places like that, in the government jobs, railways and things like that. So they get inspired with that. But what I'm trying to say is that if we start motivating district football associations with a roadmap that if your kid plays for your district, they are surely going to play at the top level. Because what happens in football is that the ISL or the I League are the two big names where boys would love to go there. What about girls? The IWL has not generated that kind of interest. But yes, today, if you look at with the World Cup coming in, I think the generation of interest will be high. The number of clubs wanting to do is high. The communication between the AIFF and state association to the stakeholders who are really wanting to be in the system is a little amiss. So the AIFF may be doing their job by putting up the communication to state. The state may be not doing the job to moving out to the district. Even if they have done to the district may be not spreading the word to the stakeholders. And that's where we need to really break the ice over there. We need to correct ourselves, bring in a system where everybody comes to know. And today, as we all are living in a virtual world, everything is possible. You put up a communication in a virtual world, and people can reach out to it. And this is a fantastic tool. Otherwise, you would never have Hindu, Henry Menezes, or Dinesh or Shahana on this pitch talking to you all. But this is something that has changed. And these are the new normals that we are getting used to. But at the same time, talent will be only scouted if we have opportunities of tournaments. We need to build up competitions for our girls, at least 30 to 40 matches in a year. How do we bring out is the responsibility of the district association. It's the responsibility of the private owners of leagues. It's the responsibility of the state association to create leagues. It's the responsibility of the AIFF to create leagues on the top. So I think once this system established, like I'm saying, the equity or whatever equity we have started now understanding that the women and men are more alike. Today we're talking about women football, and you see that there's so much amount of interest. We're talking about what are we talking about? Last World Cup, 28.7 million or 281 million. I don't know, 117 millions for the match against England versus USA. It was a phenomenal growth in television views. And we feel that our icons are marketable. And we need to strike on the icons. We need to bring in the scouting so that we go to the remote places of the village. I think Khelo India has been a fantastic movement in India, which works with All India Football Federation, because Khelo India is trying to put up a fantastic program or fantastic structure in all the 1,750 districts which are there available in around the country. And I think, like the sports district officer, there will be an office of the Khelo India in every district, which is going to be something that the government changes the entire culture of sports in the country. And I think with that, scouting becomes very important, because I know Indu, they work very, very hard in really building up. Scouting is a special, special skill that you go and pick up kids and all that. Today they have got a app that any girl or boy who is really good can showcase their talent on that app. So AIFF has been doing, but I think AIFF has to crack the whip, because I know that if AIFF cracks the whip, that we are putting up an under 15, under 13, and under 17 tournament for AIFF, I think thousands and thousands or 2,000 to 3,000 clubs would come up to say that we want to participate. And I think then there is a onus on the district association, there's an onus on the state association. The pressure is on them. I think we need to put the pressure. I think there is enough number of mass in women's football to come out and participate. We need the AIFF to just crack the whip that they say that every state association should conduct the under 13, 15, 17. Automatically, the states will go to the districts to say, please conduct your tournament so that we can get a champion or something of that sort. We may not initially find the entire 100% people working, but we will put this ball in motion. And I think that's where we are talking about talent, scouting, everything will come into the system. And we want that to happen. We want India to be coming into the top 10 of Asia. We want India to be coming into the top 40 of the world ranking. And that's our aim. And that's what we discuss whenever we meet at the AIFF, that yes. But I'm always sure that the men's football has evolved much faster than the women's football. And they always get the stepmotherly treatment. I'm 100% sure about Indu's frustration or Indu's helplessness when it comes to funding or helping. She may be having all the ideas, but funding is something which is going. So our job is right now to see that at the district level, we take the responsibility. At the state level, we show our initiative to really take on players to the national level, and AIFF to showcase that the pathway is complete, to bring in the inspiration, the aspiration for kids to move up the ladder. And I think within a few years, I think if this World Cup takes place before next year, I think you'll see a dramatic change in the women's football in India.
Thank you so much, sir, for an inspiring thing. Definitely, we all will look forward to this and all the associations. Yes. So moving on.
Shreya, can I just add something to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Like, yeah. So just quickly wanted to add that Henry sir, you are like absolutely correct. You are bang on the point. Just wanted to say that we do have plan to start in addition to under 17, under 13, and followed by under 15. So, however, because of the COVID, our plans have been moved a year later. But yes, we are catching up, and under 17, as you are aware, we have already started, and the workshops I was mentioning earlier to this conversation is basically to make sure that state associations are briefed about these upcoming events so that they can prepare accordingly. Also, our aim is to build a platform starting from Golden Baby League to under 13 to 15, 17, and so on. So that is the whole idea. And of course, 6 to 12 is covered under Golden Baby Leagues or grassroots. After that, we want to start under 13 so that the players who are participating in grassroots level, they have the competitive level football also immediately after the grassroots. And you know the philosophy. So yes, you are absolutely correct. We have to have more leagues, more competitions for women to grow further. So just just wanted to add this so that all of us are aware of what our
No,
next step would
I will just come in. I will just come into this, Hindu. You're absolutely right, because I know this everything is in place. Our legacy programs are there. Dinesh also is heading our legacy program in Maharashtra, and we
Yes.
have the total overall view. What my point is that we need to crack the whip so that the communication gets on to the right kind of stakeholders. Number one. Number two is that, yeah, since you are here and we are in this forum, is that like how Shahana has also mentioned that the protection for girls, I think that's very important. That's a small policy that we need to inculcate in the coaching license, because today when it comes to girls, there is a huge amount of safety that we have to call upon, and we need to make certain policies that will safeguard the girls as well as the coaches. There could be either way. Either way, there could be issue coming up when the policy is talked about, and I think this is a very crucial thing that we need to discuss. I've already made my point to AIFF that this needs to happen, because since the World Cup is coming out, it's a very sensitive thing when it comes to women football. I think yes, every coach should be aware about his do's and don'ts in a policy. I think it's not this thing. Only that we need to introduce it into the system so that every coach signs off with the awareness that these are the things that we need to do so that he is safe, and also our girls and women are safe from any issues that may arise from that. I think that's a point
Sure,
that
sir.
you take well taken and brought by Shana, and I totally endorse that this should come into the system.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. The security and safety comes first.
Yeah.
This will be, and this has been our topmost priority. And will your and Shauna's points are well noted, and we'll definitely try to do whatever best we can do for the safety of our
Super.
women
Super.
footballers and
Yeah.
everybody who is involved in this.
Can I add one point? I know, sorry, Dinesh, you probably have a lot to share as well. So on this child protection, what's happening right now too with the international event coming up in India, a fabulous opportunity. There's a strong competitive nature, kind of in the air. So with that, coaches have certain goals, clubs, academies have certain goals. So when child protection is kind of put in front of us, then we're all a little more sensitive in this competitive, I think, environment that's stirring. So that's all.
Thank you, Sharana. Thank you, everyone, for keeping your points. Yeah, moving to Mr. Dinesh. Sir, it's been years now. You have been guiding everyone with your coaching and training skills. Personally, my grassroots training was done under your guidance. So how do we propose to motivate women to pick up football and coaching? Can you share some of the stories with your experiences?
Yeah, I think a good question. I just want to add up, whatever Henry, Indu, and China mentioned. First, we need to understand that every girl who plays won't become a Bembem Devi or a Bala Devi. We need to make that clear. Okay, so it's about creating responsible citizens, and it's about creating, it's humanity first. I think that's very important, which I think everyone here would agree that every child who comes to play won't become a player. So that's one we need to understand. And rightly, like Indu said, the stakeholders working together is the key. All stakeholders, whether be it the federation, whether it be the state associations, district associations, clubs, NGOs, schools, colleges, the government, so working together is the key. I'll just give you a very good example that in Mumbai, we work with the Mumbai municipal schools, and we have created something called the Chhawa League. Chhawa is a cub, a tiger cub. Okay, and where it's about getting girls together with boys. So it's a 5v5, under 8, under 10, under 12, and each team has 5 players, 3 boys and 2 girls. So the girls play with boys. Now what happens in these schools is boys think, "Arey, you're a girl, why you come to play football?" Or this football is not your game, but this is compulsory. So every team has 2 girls that are playing, and it's going amazing. We've got around 5,000 boys and 3,000 girls playing. So that's important, and where we also educate them on social issues like gender equality, be it sanitation, hygiene. One is working together, important. Second is create opportunities. Like I said, create leagues, create opportunities for them. Creating role models is important. Role models of what women can do, not only footballers but all other get if she can do it, why can't I do it? That's important. And the crux of everything lies in education. And when I say education, is not only coach education, it's about educating coaches, it's about educating parents, it's about educating players, whether be it child protection, whether be it coaching, or whether making the parent understand that it's not only that if my child is playing, she'll become a player. No, she can become a coach. She can become an assistant coach. She can become an analyst speaker. She can become a physiotherapist. She can take up marketing, operations, social media, and so on. So it's an industry that you are in. It's not gone are those days when Henry used to play. Henry is senior than me, and I played later than that. But there was only those players. Now you've got in a stadium, forget the fans. Even if there are minus the fans, other than the players, there are 200-300 people working, whether be it broadcast, whether be it the support staff, whether be it medical staff. So that's what we need to educate parents on. Sports management is a growing industry. So I think that's important. Is the stakeholders working together, creating opportunities for children. Like I think that's AFF is doing a brilliant job in that, and creating the leagues, the Golden Baby Leagues, the IWL, the youth leagues, right? So is creating leagues, stakeholders working together is the key, whether be it any stakeholder. Like I still remember when Henry was with WFA, we used to do a lot of work with WFA, whether be it grassroots courses. We've done, in Maharashtra alone, we've done more than 20 grassroots courses, e-licenses. So we went to Kolhapur and did a course. We went to Nagpur and did a course. We went to Nasik and did a course. Instead of, the coaches coming to Mumbai to do a course, we traveled there. So it's taking football to the coaches there. And that's how, even for women's football, you need to develop is I think these are important. You work together, create opportunities, create role models, and educate players about football, educate players about other opportunities other than football. I think these are that we need to look ahead, important. And I would like to reinforce this, that create citizens, create responsible citizens. That's more important. I have just for an example, Shauna has an academy which has 20 players. Now I think it's more than 100 players right now. Can Shauna tell us how many will play for the country? Can Shauna tell us how many will play for the senior team? No, but what she's doing, that's what is important. It's about educating them in every aspect, making them ready for life. I think that's, and in today, if you go to any top corporates, they look at sportsmen, because sportsmen knows, to accept defeat. Not that I want to lose, but I know that every day I go and play, I lose a game or I win in a match. So that comes there. Resilience is there, hard work, and there are a lot of qualities that can be built up through sports. And I think that is important about how we involve. I still remember when you asked for I still remember me and Henry, we were at Madanpura. It's a completely Muslim community in Mumbai, and there was this huge. The ex-MLA had organized a huge grassroots summer camp, and there are about thousands of children who come. And on the final day, me and Henry were there, and there were these women, the mothers of these children in burqas. We got them to kick the ball into the goal, and Henry was the goalkeeper, then I was the goalkeeper, and they were so excited. They were kicking the ball into the goal, and there was an entire video on that. How to include the mothers also. Then we did a couple of workshops with the mother on nutrition, on injury prevention, injury care, and all of that. So I think that's important. Education plays a key role in that. Again, stressing on this, not only educating coaches, but educating parents, educating stakeholders, educating players, and everyone. I think that's the key, and we are going in the right direction. We hosted the Under-17 Men's World Cup. Now we are hosting the Under-17 Women's World Cup, and I think things will change. And here we are all talking about the fastest growing sport in the world, women's football.
Yeah.
I think, we are on the right track. And hats off to you guys, Shreya and Karina. I mean, you all are an important stakeholder. You all are an important stakeholder where we need people like you to come and, have forums like these. So a couple of months back, when I started following your Twitter account, and I saw that you were putting out these photographs of girls from different districts. What they do. That's amazing. You're already creating role models, and that's what they're doing. And you have Indu here, who's been in AIFF for such a long time, and she's a woman who's doing for women's football. Understand? So I think it's in the right hands. And as Henry rightly said, you need professionals and passionate people to lead.
Absolutely. I think that was a absolutely fantastic and inspiring concluding remark. So just to quickly sum it up, I mean, we discussed so many things. So some of the most important things that we could focus on moving forward is all of y'all emphasize on the fact that having a roadmap and a plan becomes extremely essential. So hopefully all key stakeholders can come together and build that vision for women's football in India. The second one was creating role models, as Ms. Nair just emphasize on the fact as well. So we are hoping that the Under 17 World Cup, we know every single person in India knows who the Indian women's team is. Everybody should know each and every player of the women's team so that we are yelling out loud and hooting for Team India. That's my vision. I really hope that possibly happens. The third point was about collaboration. How can different stakeholders from national level authorities to grassroots organizations like us, Shayonas, can come together to actually create that large scale impact. And the fourth one was around awareness. How do we build awareness so that every single community member, every single family member is so aware of the sport and in turn becomes encouraging and creates an enabling environment so that football can actually thrive no matter which racial community do you belong to. It's a sport at the end of the day, and the idea is to come in, motivate yourself, and flourish. And finally, most importantly, we are hoping that there could be some sort of protection policies that come into place as it's gaining quite a lot of spotlight on how important that is in sports. So hopefully all of us can come together. Just one last thing for a minute before we all conclude. If I would love it if each one of us could just share a one-line vision statement on what is your vision for women's football in India in the next 5 years. We can start with you, Mr. Nair.
If you ask me one line statement, get as many girls to play the game and love the game.
Wonderful. What about you, Mr. Henry?
They have so many taglines. Beti bachao, beti badao, beti padao. Now we have to say beti khilao. Now that's something that we need to bring it out. I think each and every kid, each and every girl should be in par with a male or a boy. My vision would be that both of them should get the same opportunity and the same pay scale.
Absolutely. That's a great one. Thank you so much, Mr. Henry. What about you, Shauna?
Yes. Well, Karina, thank you for putting us on the spot. So what I'd say is let every girl have such amazing memories in football, in their childhood, that they continue to use all the lessons that come through the sport in all aspects of their life. Yeah.
Wow, that was beautiful. And to end with Miss Indu, what would be your vision for women's football in India?
Well, honestly, my vision is to, of course, to see women's football in the top chart of world map. However, the tagline I would go with is, let them play, let them feel free, and let them enjoy. And not only in sport, in general also, I think the girls and women need to enjoy themselves. I mean, the womanhood is such a powerful word in itself. So we should be enjoying it every day. We should be celebrating it every day. So that is what I believe in.
Wow, that was absolutely beautiful. So thank you so much. I hope that in the near future we touch base again, keeping these vision statements in mind, and we collectively, as a team together, reach places and women's football can actually reach the place where all of us envision together. Once again, I thank you all panelists and all attendees who are watching live on YouTube for joining us today. It's been a wonderful evening, and I'm very grateful to each and every panelist for giving your time on this Sunday afternoon with us, and we hope to work with each and every one of you to create the change we all aspire to. Thank you for
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much.